Hi beautiful people. So I'm super excited for this video because I'm gonna just be sharing Brady's and I's story and how we met, and then how I knew he was the one, that I wanted to marry and stuff. So I'm gonna get into that in a little bit, but first I just want to thank my sponsor for this video, which is House of Providence. So House of Providence is a Christian residential institution for kiddos who are in the foster care system. So there's about 500,000 kids right now in foster care in just the US actually alone. And they are in need of a stable home where they can have their complex needs met. So what House of Providence does is they take in kids who have been abused, sold for sex, they're profoundly suicidal, and these are just about 8 to 12-year-olds typically, right? They have severe attachment problems, so many things that none of us should ever have to go through. No one should ever have to go through. But they take in those kiddos, and through tons of prayer, they've created this therapeutic model that they make these beautiful homes, just gorgeous homes, and they bring in these kids and have them in a safe, stable home where they're able to just be kids. Through these homes that they build, they're able to help kids just have a stable way of life in a quiet, countryside, beautiful home where it feels like they're just in a safe place, and they can find their identity in Jesus. They can learn to heal and learn to catch up in school. That is possible. I love that. And just so many things, all their complex needs and on an individual level are met in these homes, and they're able to be reintegrated then after living here and going through their program, either reunified with their families or adopted into another family. So that's so good, so needed. In their homes, they have very normal, family and very healthy family structures. So the kids help with meal prep and then help with cleanup. They wake up on Saturday mornings to eggs and bacon, the smell of that, which is so yummy. And all these things that are just, well, for me, like I had growing up, that many of these kids will never have unless they come into these homes. So it's so good. And they use, what's really great is they use 88% of the money that they are given to the kids, to building the homes, right? There's about 12% of that is administrative costs. That's far lower than most other residential organizations like this. The results, and this is the best part, are very encouraging. Almost every single child who's walked through the doors of House of Providence have walked out either reunified with their families or adopted into another family. That's just not true in the foster care system normally, right? A lot of kids, unfortunately, are not able to be adopted and they age out of the system, and that's just heartbreaking. And we wish there was something more you can do, but they're doing something. Like they figured out a method and a model that works and that helps these kids to be able to be either reunified, like I said, or adopted so they don't age out of the system. House of Providence's mission is until every child has a home, which is so sweet, so simple and so sweet. And it's actually on their merch that you can buy to help support them, and that's a way that you can give to them. They were gracious enough to send me this really cute jacket that says until every child has a home, and I just love that. So you can check out their merch, and just all the information that you need will be in the description about House of Providence, and I highly recommend you checking them out and giving if you feel led to do so. So thank you so much for sponsoring this video, and now let's get into our story. Okay, so I'm super excited to share this, but I just want to warn you, there are dogs barking again in the background, and I wish there was something I could do, but I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Let's just try to do this anyway. So our story is very much something I give God full glory for and full credit for. And it's very much a testimony to his sovereignty over our lives and just being in control over every little detail leading up to where we are now, and of course until all of the rest of our lives, right? He has it all planned out. So it's cool. And what I always tell people is Soli Deo Gloria, which is glory to God alone. It's really cool to be able to share our story and then literally just be like, yep, it's all God. All glory to God. So that's a really cool way to kind of just name drop God into things and to evangelize. But I'll get into that in my coming up video about evangelism. So anyway, we've known each other for around about 8 years, and not like we were not like good friends or anything like that, but that's when we were in the same ministries at church, at our old church. We were in the same high school ministry, and I came a couple times, and I really didn't know that many people, but he knew a lot of people and, was super involved, and I didn't really get involved at that church till I was in the college ministry, which would have been about 6 years ago. That one I was super duper involved in, and he was pretty involved. I'm in a different ministry, but also that one. And then we crossed paths a lot, but not really like hung out. We weren't like friends, but our friends were all friends, and all these things. It's just so funny that we were kind of like little railroad tracks. Like we were the same age and the same things and had the same friends, but didn't like cross paths, right? Like, and talk a lot. There were actually only 2 times where we like talked that I like actually vividly remember talking to him. There could have been other times, but like these are the times that I remember. Okay, these 2 things, it's so funny. Like one time we were at B-Dubs, and I had gone to the bathroom, so I was coming back, and he was like leaving, and like we just did one of those like you know what I mean? Like a friendly smile. But he actually was so friendly because he's just such a friendly, nice person. But he was super friendly and he was like, hey, Becca, how are you? And I was like, good, how are you? And I don't remember after that, but like it was very much like he went out of his way to just be friendly and to be nice, even though we didn't know each other. And that just stuck out to me. And I remember going back to my friends at my table. I was like, is Brady Southern? Like, is he from the South? Because he sounds like it. And they were like, no, he's from here. You know, we're from, you know, Illinois. We don't have accents here unless you're from the deep South. But anyway, yeah, I remember that time. And then there was one other time also at B-Dubs where I was dating someone else and we were sitting at one of those like high top tables, right? Not that it matters, but I'm just telling you. Okay, we're sitting at one of those high top tables and I was here and at the time my boyfriend, my ex, was here, and then our other friend was here, and then Brady was sitting here. So we were kind of like right there. And it's just so funny because he wasn't dating anyone and obviously I was, but he knew, and actually the guy who was sitting here, they both were single at the time. We're like, Becca, do you know those girls? Because we all went to the same high school. They were like, do you know those girls? Are they nice girls? Like, interested in them. And I was like, oh yeah, they're great. They're super nice, blah, blah, blah. And so I literally like was encouraging him, like, go for it, you know? And neither one actually, I don't think pursued him at all. But like, it's just so funny that I was dating someone else and he's asking, you know, me about this other girl. And yeah, I don't know. It's just funny because we were both, over the years that we knew each other, for like 8 years, we were both dating other people, or he was dating, I wasn't. He was single, I wasn't. And then eventually he left. So this is where it's like comes kind of full circle. So again, when I was single and he wasn't, I wouldn't have looked at him, right, and been like, oh yeah, he's potential for dating because he was dating someone else, and he didn't look at me for potential because I was dating someone else. But then he left that church and I was still there. And I made a whole video about this, but for about 5 years, I felt like I was very conflicted about being at that church, and I felt very much like I needed to leave. And about 2 years before I left that church, Brady left. And it's so crazy because I was for so long, like I felt like the only one who was thinking these things. And I was the only one who was like, but we need to be doing this, and we need to be talking about this, and we need to be sharing the gospel. And it was so important to me that we got up every Sunday and read the Bible and opened it up on Sunday. Like everybody opened it up in the main service and we talked about it, we exegeted it, and it was like expositional, but we didn't have expositional there. We had topical. And like I said, I made a video about this, so you can watch that if you want to know more about that. But that's something that was so important to me because my church I went to in college, which is up at Olivet, and just in case any of you are there, I'll link that church in the description if you want to go there. It is so good. It's called River Valley Christian Fellowship. It's up in like Bourbonnais, Illinois. Anyway, that church was an expositional church where they got up every Sunday and read the word, and it was so amazing to have that difference. And then I'd come home to this church and I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, I felt like we need to have this change, and I was telling so many people and I felt like no one understood. And so finally after a while I was just like, I'm leaving, and I left and went to this other much smaller church, mega church to much smaller church. We're outside, and this was this summer, for like a service outside because it was during, you know, the virus and whatnot. And I see Brady from afar and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know, like, don't come talk to me. I literally was praying, like, Lord, please help him not to come talk to me because I'm so awkward and my face always gets so red. And I hate when, like, I don't know something is coming and then I have someone come talk to me and I know my face will get red even if I don't like them. It just happens. I'm sweating thinking about it. But anyway, I was like, Lord, please don't have him come talk to me. Well, he did. And he was like, hey, Becca, what are you doing here? And I was like, red. I was like, what are you doing here? I think I had a mask on though, so you couldn't really tell. But anyway, well, you probably could have told, but I felt like you couldn't tell. Anyway, I was like, what are you doing here? Like, trying to deflect, because it was very new that I had literally just started coming, and it was very like fresh and raw, and like I didn't know very many people. And so to have someone from my old church, I was like, why did they leave? What, you know? So I was like, well, what are you doing here? And he was like, well, I left that church. And I was like, oh my gosh, me too. And I was like, why did you leave? And he was like, why did you leave? And I was like, well, I asked first. And he was like, well, I left over doctrine. Like, I saw this documentary and I started watching all these YouTube videos and finding out a lot more. And I was like, I feel like we need to leave. And so anyway, he and his family did leave and moved to that church. And I had switched for the same reasons, where I was like, oh my gosh, first of all, I was like, you know the word doctrine? You care about the word doctrine? You care about the Bible? Most people don't. I mean, it's just crazy. Most people don't care and don't read it and don't even know what the word doctrine means. And so to have somebody who is very cute, by the way, talking to me about doctrine and moving to this church and loving it, we had this whole conversation about music and how he was like, can you tell the difference about the music? It's so like Christ-centered and so gospel-centered. And I was like, who are you? This is so cool. And I'm standing there just beaming, smiling, and he was beaming. And it was just kind of like so weird because for years we never talked except for those 2 times, and they were not significant conversations, like at all. And I'm having this conversation with him, and I feel like for the first time, like someone gets it. Like someone really understands what I've been through and like why I left, and all of that was just so cool. And I remember we talked for a really long time, and I left that conversation and I did not stop thinking about it all week, all day. I was thinking about it all night. I was thinking about it like, oh my gosh, he's so different. Like I just feel like there's so much potential here, but I had just gotten out of a relationship, literally just gotten out of it a few weeks before. I think it was just over a month I had gotten out of a relationship, and I was not going to jump into another one. It was just a bad ending to that one, and I was not ready to move on, but things changed. But anyway, I went home and texted my friends like, oh my gosh, like I just talked to Brady Bowen and he was so nice and all this stuff. Like it was so funny. And they were like, oh, he's amazing. He's an eligible bachelor, Becca. You should date him. Like literally said that. And I was like, okay, maybe, but I just got out of a relationship. You know that, so I don't know. And yeah, it was 2 weeks later though that he did ask me out on our first date, and we did take it very slow at first, right? Because we were like, I just got out of a relationship. I'm trying to go slow. But it was so evident, like this was so right. And we just knew like this was it. Like he was the person that God had for me. He was the right person, and I was the right person for him, and it was just awesome. Like the more and more we talked, we would just talk and talk and talk and talk, because it was during the virus, like really bad part, like where it was lockdowns and all of that. So we couldn't really do normal dates. Like we couldn't go to movies. We couldn't go to restaurants really. We could go outside. There were different things outside that we could go to, but for the most part, it was very much like our relationship was built on walks and talking, and that's still what our relationship is about today. Like we love walking and talking about God and talking about the gospel. He's so passionate about the gospel and so passionate about the Bible and doctrine, and it is so cool and so attractive. Like I thought for so long, there's no way I'm gonna meet someone who is as passionate about the Bible as I am, and who loves God more than me. Like my 5 things that I've always wanted were: he loves God more than he loves me. He loves me as much as I love him. He's a Bible nerd. That's super important. He's funny, and he's genuinely a nice, kind person. Like for so long, I compromised on those things because I was like, you know what? I give up. Like these people don't exist. But they do. And I'm so thankful that the Lord protected me from, marrying anybody else, or like just from other people that I could have married, right? Because I could have married other people. I could have made that decision, but it's like, no, the Lord protected me, and he had Brady in mind, and now we're getting married. So, it's so cool. So yeah, what happened for our engagement really quick was our first date was like, we ate outside at a restaurant. Because like I said, most restaurants weren't open, but this one was, because it was an outdoor one. So we ate outdoors at this restaurant and then went on a walk, like all like over and over. And I was not wearing proper walking shoes, so I got so many blisters. It's so funny because I never told them like, oh, my feet are killing me or anything, because it's your first date. But anyway, we went on a walk and went on another walk, in circles and circles. And then on that same spot where we had our first walk is where he proposed. And yep, that's our story. So yeah, all glory to God for sure. I mean, he literally had us be like railroad tracks until the right time where we crossed paths. So it's just really cool that God was truly working in both of us. Because if we had tried to date in high school, it would have never worked. If we had tried to date in college, it never would have worked. Like there was so many things that he did in Brady, and so many things he did in me, and like at just the right time, he brought us together, like back together, right? Because we knew each other, but now came back together. So yeah, that's our story. So the other thing I just wanted to quickly talk about is like how I knew, and this is gonna be super simple and super short. And I'm sure most of you are gonna be like, I've heard this before, but like, trust me, when people say it, they mean it, right? There were other people that I thought I could marry, and I thought, okay, well, if I change X, Y, and Z about them, then they'll be perfect, like perfect for me to marry and stuff. And for a long time, I tried to like micromanage people, which is, I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying this is what happened, into making them the person that I wanted to marry, right? So these boys that I dated, I was like, well, I think I could marry them one day, but the difference is I knew I was going to marry Brady. Like I knew I was going to marry him. I knew he was going to be my husband. Like it wasn't, I think, maybe in the future. It was, I know I'm going to marry him. It was so right. And just, he had all 5 things that I was like, these are so important to me. And I'm thankful that friends and family helped me to get out of bad relationships and helped me to persevere and not just like settle, but actually wait for somebody who, you know, is everything I've ever wanted in a person. So yeah, that is something that also my friends were very much like, in other relationships, they were like, get out of it. Or they would just warn me like, I don't know. And then also my childhood best friend, Shannon, I remember her sitting right over there in that chair. She was like, do you think you're going to marry Brady? And I was like, absolutely, I do. And she was like, you've never said that. And she's seen me on every single relationship I've ever been in since I was 15. That's when I first started dating. She's seen literally every single person I've dated and like known about my relationships. And she's like, and I didn't know this was true until she said it, but she was like, every time I've asked you that question, you've never been that confident. And she just was like, I know you're going to marry him based on the way that you just answered that question. Like my confidence in knowing like, yes, this is right. It was like, you know, she just knew then too. So that really was cute that she's seen me in all my relationships and knew that like this one was so different. So yeah. So the bottom line is don't settle. Like God, his timing is perfect. He is sovereign over every single detail in your life. And he will, in his timing, it will be right. Like, I know you hear those things all the time, like God's timing is right, but it is. Like, he is so wise. He is infinitely wise. His wisdom literally never ends. So for you in your life, of course, he can perfectly, wisely plan when someone comes into your life and who comes into your life and how they come into your life. Like for us, like when Brady came into my life was much later than we met, and how he came into my life and all these things. It's like, I didn't even want him to come up to me, but God was like, yes, no. So God just is so wise, and you have to always think about what, like, all these attributes of God are true. I know that they are true. God is truth. He always tells me what's right and true. So God is infinitely wise, and God is perfect in all his ways. He is good. He's our Father. Like, all those things, just rest in them. Rest in them. Because if you try to control everything in your life and try to control the outcome, it's like the video I made about ladders. That's like trying to control everything and be God in terms of sovereignty, which we are not able to be, is like climbing a ladder that leads to nowhere. You're going to fall flat on your face. Like, it's not going to work. It's not going to lead you anywhere but hurt. And so you have to anchor yourself in the Lord and say, Lord, I trust you. You are infinitely wise. I am not. And I trust you, and I know you love me, and I know you have what's best for me. So when people say, trust God's timing, they're right. And just to encourage you, if you are the type of person who's, you know, lately you've been turning down dates and you feel so badly, you're beating yourself up because you're turning down dates for non-Christians, or you're turning down dates, or you're breaking up with someone because, you know, they don't have the things that you're wanting, and that you know that these are the right things for me. Don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up. I did that too, but don't do it, because what you have, if you have top 5 things, those things do not settle for anything less than those 5 things, right? Of course, they cannot be like, he has to have like, you know what I mean? Like, don't be unrealistic. But if you have 5 realistic things, that's fine. Save, like, literally wait. Like, literally wait. If those things are so important to you, especially being a Christian, that is a non-negotiable. Wait, keep waiting. The Lord has someone, the Lord has a plan for you in his timing that will be perfect, and you will see that he is perfect in all his ways in time. So I hope that encourages you. And yeah, like I said, all the glory for Brady and I goes to God. Like, I cannot take any of the credit. It all goes to him. Soli Deo Gloria is like the phrase I love to say with our relationship, and I'm just super grateful. So I hope you liked our little story, and also I pray that you are encouraged, because I know it's hard. I know what it's like to be on the other side of this, to see someone else be engaged and be like, when's my time and whatnot. But the Lord is sovereign, the Lord is good, and the Lord is faithful. So all that to say, have a great day, and bring God glory in all you do and all you say.